Hello, it's Tom here again. I'm going to talk about some shop display signs today, and you would have seen these in the old shops in the 50s and the 60s. I've got 5 that I'm going to show you today. These are a mixture of Slazenger, Alexander and Dunlop. They're quite interesting. They're made of wood and or cardboard. And what generally they do is they have rackets positioned in the display stands, and they were to show off the rackets that were now for sale. They would have been in rackets in general, but you would get specific companies that would give you a stand, and they could put the rackets that they were selling for that company. In one case, I've got one here where it says the new Slazenger Challenge racket, so that would have been coming out in the early to mid 50s. Nowadays you won't generally see as many of these type of stands, and when I was having a look on the internet to try and get some more information on them, I was not able to find any of the stands that I have that I'm going to show you today. So I'm just going to tell you as much as I know about them and hope that you find some interest in them. Let's have a look at the first stand I'm going to show you, and this one is made from solid wood, quite sturdily made as you can see, and it's from the Alexander Racket Company. So the Alexander Company, if you remember seeing my racket video, is a company that started in Tasmania, and they brought out many rackets under their name. This display stand is for the Racquets Perfect, which is one of their rackets. You'll also see an advert on this stand, which is not related to Alexander, for the Barnet glass tennis balls. So on this stand, that's the design on the front, and on the back is where the rackets would have been displayed. So you can see that this one holds 3 rackets, one in each of these holes, and they're positioned behind this. This is a locking device. This would have been pulled back, and the rackets would have been sat in here. You can see the bottom, they've got a little groove for the handle to sit in, and the middle handle would have sat in this space here. And once they're placed in that, you then bring across this device to lock them and just push it down. And then on looking at them from this design at the front, you would see 3 rackets, one straight up in the middle and one leaning across on either side. I'll show you a little picture of that with some rackets in them. The rackets I've put in the pictures are the company rackets. They're not necessarily the one that was advertised on the stand. In this case, one of them is, but the other 2 are not Racquets Perfects, but they are the Alexander Racket Company. The second one I'm going to show you today is this one from the Dunlop Racket Company. So this is a half moon shaped stand. It's rather large. It's a larger size than the little one I showed before, and it has Dunlop written here, but also has tennis rackets, and up the top it has Go by the Stars. So the first thing I've noticed here is the spelling of rackets. So you'll see that it has Rackets, and I usually spell it Racquets, and it turns out that rackets, Rackets, is the older spelling used in English, and that's been used since the 16th century, that word, not necessarily for rackets, and it was spelt Rackets later on in the 19th century. And that's because the French word for rackets is raquette, and this was many people preferred that spelling for the sports equipment of the tennis racket. And go by the stars is it's a saying that you follow your destiny, basically. Take your fate in its hands for your career, and this is the Dunlop racket was going to make you succeed in following your profession of a tennis player. So you can see on the back of this one, it's a similar way for holding the rackets, but in this case it holds 4 rackets. So the bases would sit in here, and the shaft of the racket was through these, which are metal spring clips. So that would sit here and come out at an angle, as you can see by the chop marks. That's the angles the 4 rackets would have displayed. So when you saw that, you would just see the shaft, part of the shaft of the racket coming up here, and then the racket head. And so I've put a little picture of each of them. You've probably seen the first one, just to see what it looks like with the rackets displayed. So I'm going to do that for each one at the end of each talk. Again, this is another 1950s to 60s stand. The next one is a Slazenger racket stand display. This is quite a small one. It's not a huge display size. And you can see here that it's advertising the new Slazenger Challenge. So the Slazenger Challenge came out in the early 50s. So this stand would have been made for that racket to be advertised. Again, this is wood, but it's a thinner wood. It's not as huge, thick wood like the first display stand was. But the wood part that holds the rackets is quite sturdy. This also has a small base. So this one would have held 3 rackets, as you can see, and nothing held them. They just sat in that display hole, and they would have stood slight angle, you can see, in the ones on either side, but the one in the middle is quite perfectly straight. Again, this is from the 1950s to 60s, and this would have held 3 rackets. Okay, so the next stand is quite a large size stand. This is probably more of the size that would have been in a window rather than sitting on a counter. And this is from Dunlop, and it's advertising the new Dunlop Max Ply racket. So as you can see here, it's quite a large size. It's got the text here of the new Max Ply, Dunlop Max Ply racket. And on here it says the racket that makes champions. And a little graphic. So this is a lady learning to play tennis. I'm assuming this is her coach. He is slightly familiar with the lady by the looks of things. And I'm not sure that she would have worn something like that on the tennis court. But nevertheless, it's an eye-catching design, as you can see. Makes people look at it. And this one has the slots here for 3 rackets. This one is also not made of wood, it's made of cardboard, thick cardboard. And it's just got, it has a wooden base, but it's thick cardboard nevertheless. And there's nothing on the back, it's just a plain back. Nice shape for this one. Again, I've put a display of what the rackets look like when it's on full display. The next one is slightly larger, again, from the Dunlop one. This is a Slazenger stand, and it's advertising the Challenge racket. So you can see here it's got Challenge, and this is Racquets by Slazenger. Again, it's got the R-A-C-K-E-T-S spelling. This is a solid wooden one, and quite a large size, as you can see. Now this one, instead of having the slots to put them in, they're actually in the side part here. So the holes, there's one hole here and another one up here and one up here. So this held 3 rackets, but it held the rackets in such a way as they came straight out in this direction. So you would have one down here, one here, and one up the top. Again, this is the Challenge racket sign. So that was one of the rackets that Slazenger made in their production. So, but rather a large sign. And just when you thought they couldn't get any bigger, this is probably the largest one I have. Again, it's Slazenger's sports goods store, the world's leading tennis racket. So this is quite a large one, as you can see. Very nice design, sturdy, and this is made of wood again. So this is a solid wooden base, and this is actually this is not cardboard, this is wood as well. The inside of this one unfortunately has lost its slots for the rackets to sit inside, but I'm hoping to get that fixed up so that I can display them. So the display that I've put, the picture that I'll put at the end for the display of this one, I'm not sure how many rackets would have held, but I'm assuming they would have come out in this direction. What I've had to do is just sort of tie one racket with a bit of string to let you see what it would have looked like, because there's no construction inside here to put the racket in. But again, 1950s. The graphics are a very nice graphic, and it's the world's leading tennis rackets. Again, still see the CK. And down here it's got Slazenger's famous sports goods. So rather a large size display stand. Again, this would have been in a window rather than on a counter in the display. Okay, so that was just a short video today on the stands. There wasn't much more I could tell you other than the company and when they were made and the construction, and putting up some pictures at the end of each one to let you see what they would have looked like in their original display stand. Okay, so that's the video for today. Short video, but quite informative, I hope, and nice to see some of these stands. As I said, I looked on the internet, I could not find any tennis vintage display stands online, so I was hoping to add to my collection, but we'll see what we can find in the future. So thanks for joining me today again, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. So keep well, and we'll see you soon. Bye.